Yeah, I'm delighted to welcome you to our webinar, Transitioning to Slower Growing Broilers, Different European Perspectives. First, a few rules for today. All participants will be muted except for the speakers. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. So you can find usually the chat function in the middle of the bar, which is often located bottom of the Zoom window. And Margaret and I, so my colleague Margaret and also Wiebke, will keep an eye on them and answer them due to the program. In case you need to leave earlier, I would like to show your colleagues this webinar. It will be recorded and published on our website at a later date. Oops, sorry. And if you have any problems or questions, just write Margaret, Wiebke, or me. And yes, before we start with the other speakers, I would like to say a few words about why considering a transition to slower growing breeds from a welfare perspective. In summary, with regard to animal welfare and protection, it can be stated that fast-growing broiler chicken exhibit physical limitations in movement and activity at the end of the fattening period. The reduced activity and impaired locomotion can lead to changes and the food pads due to prolonged exposure to litter, resulting in a painful animal welfare problems. Furthermore, rapid growth has a negative impact on meat quality, for instance, through white striping or wooden breast. In addition, we are seeing a shift in society's mindset, with animal welfare and the corresponding improvement in living conditions playing a significant role in consumer behavior. But what do we actually mean by slower growing broiler chickens? There's no fixed definition so far. Only one thing is clear. Fast growing broiler chickens have a daily weight gain of more than approximately 67 grams per day. All genetics that have a lower daily weight gains are slower growing. Also, there are still differences here. In the picture, you can see three different strains from the right to the left. It's Ross 308. It's a fast-growing broiler chicken. The Lohmann Dual. It's a dual-purpose breed. And the Lohmann Brown. It's a male. It's a brother from the laying hens from Lohmann Brown. And all three animals being the same age of 42 days. So here we see really a big difference between the genetics. There are some positive attributes of slower growers, which are improved welfare, different meat quality, improved sustainability by using waste and byproducts from human consumption, improved health, and improved sector images. Enough from me. I would now like to briefly introduce our program. We will start with a short presentation of BroilerNet, which will be introduced by our project coordinator and today's moderator, Stefan Gunnarsson. And we will continue with the insight into the Dutch transition to slower growing, the Better Leven label from Marijke from the Netherlands. And Grigori will introduce us to the French label program, Label Rouge. And after a short break, Henrik will present the perspective of a German retailer. At the end of each presentation, you will have a short time for technical questions. And however, we will have, after all three presentations, the opportunity to ask more complex questions. Yeah, and that's it for me. And I would give the floor to Stefan, please.
Thank you very much, Julia. And I have not much to add, but you're very, very welcome to this webinar. And we hope that it will be interesting. We will consider that it's very interesting. I will share my presentations here and hopefully you can see this. So I have the pleasure to be coordinating the BroilerNet project, which is an EU-funded project, and the longer title is a European network project for exchange on broiler production. So what we have been doing is to create a network to enhance this resilience and sustainability of the European broiler sector. And we are 13 countries within this project. I will have a dot here. So it's from Finland to Portugal and from Greece to Ireland. And it's funded by the European Commission, and we are now coming into the final year of the project because it will finish next year. So we have 25 partners in these 13 countries. So there is one industry partner and one academic partner. And all partners are equal in this project, which usually not the case with EU projects. So what we have been doing is that we have built networks on national level and on international level. And these national networks have been consisted by farmers, advisors, and other people in the sector, and there have been a partner person that has been facilitating the discussion to bring in challenges that the farmers, the advisors consider to be important. And then we have used the network across Europe with thematic expert networks. So we have an interaction between the science and the practices. And for these challenges that have been collected from farmers and advisors in the different countries, we have collected good practices that we have evaluated with our experts, and then we are communicating them. And there is also a part where we have made a cost-benefit analysis as well. And you find more information on our website, and I will talk more about the social media. In order to have a systematic view, we have 3 themes. So we have sorted these challenges into animal health management that has been coordinated by IRTA. And we have also animal welfare, which has been coordinated by Julia and Margaret, and Vibke has also been part of this. And then we have sustainability from environmental point of view, and that has been coordinated by CRPA in Italy. So this is his way to structure it. Otherwise, we would have like a big, more like mess. So that has been a way to structure it and to get an expert opinion. So here you have information about our activities. You can find more information on BroilerNet website. We are quite active, or very active, at LinkedIn. There are some videos you can look at the BroilerNet EU channel. And then if you scan this QR code, you will find the Broiler Knowledge Hub, where we have almost 100 items in different topics that are relevant to broiler production, including this with the slower growing hybrids. So thank you very much. And if you want to know more, I think I bring this in the end again, because otherwise you will be looking at our Broiler Knowledge Hub and not really been listening to our experts that will present. So I go further with introducing Marijke de Jong, and she's from the Dierenbescherming. And Marijke has studied biology at Wageningen University and Research Institute with a focus on ethology and animal ecology. She is currently strategic advisor for Better Leven, the Better Life label in the Dutch Society for Protection of Animals. In this context, her goal is to improve the animal welfare through the market. In order to achieve this goal, Marijke collaborates with supermarkets, with the food industry, and not least with farmers. So please, Marijke.
Okay. Okay. Is my presentation visible?
Yeah, and there is a little time lapse there. So if you put it on the presentation mode, it will be absolutely perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So you see it? Okay.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I will tell you something about how the broiler transition in the Dutch supermarkets towards slower growing breeds has come to place. And yes, I work for the Dutch Society for the Protection of Animals. We are the oldest and largest animal welfare organization in the Netherlands. And we work on different perspectives. So we lobby for politics for improving animal welfare and legislation. But also, since many years, we also work together with the industry and supermarkets in order to improve animal welfare. So I will tell you something about how the transition towards slower growing breeds worked in the Netherlands, and I can tell you about in hours about it. So I'll try to do it in within 20 minutes. But how did it start? Actually, yeah, there was already in the Netherlands a lot of societal criticism on the lack of animal welfare of animals in livestock farming. And there were also campaigns of animal welfare organizations and, of course, lobby in order to improve the animal welfare. Also, there were scandals on meat scandals in the Netherlands. So around 2007, actually, yeah, there was a lot already. Actually, in 2000, there was a lot of fuss about animal welfare. So then we started a research project together with Wageningen University. The Ministry of Agriculture was involved and paid for the research. An animal feed organization, the farmers organizations, slaughterhouse and dierenbescherming, and also two supermarkets. We started a project in order to look for a suitable, slower growing breed that would be suitable for introducing in supermarkets. And it had to be in between actually the fast growing broilers at the base and organic, because there was a large gap in animal welfare, but also in price actually between regular chicken meat and organic meat. So in order to make it more feasible for a lot of farmers and also consumers to buy more animal welfare friendly chicken meat, but not as high as organic meat, we were looking for a slower growing breed. The stocking density, then the housing, the enrichment there would be had to be in place, or the overall animal welfare had to be improved, and so the positioning in the market. This research lasted for 3 years. We were looking in France for slower growing breeds, and we found actually the Hubbard JA757, which is now still very much used in the slower growing breed sector in the Netherlands. So for us as an animal welfare organization, legislation is the bottom, but there is a lot of space between legislation and better animal welfare projects. And so we try to do it through the markets. For us, so we were working on this concept with slower growing breeds, and we were, as dierenbescherming, participating. So then we thought about how can we position such a concept in the supermarkets. You have to develop a reliable label, and it has to be also audited, etc. So what can we participate as dierenbescherming in this concept? So we developed a label, our own label, Beter Leven, Better Life. But it took a lot of discussions within our own organization, because it was very exciting for us and our members of the public as an animal welfare organization to introduce a label on meat. But still, we did it, and we did a pilot for a year together with the farmers, with the slaughterhouse and the industry, and for supermarkets that were willing to put this slow growing breed concept in the market with 1-star Better Life label. We introduced, actually we had 3-star level because we wanted also to make higher welfare concepts, but the 1-star was the first start. So after this pilot of 1 year, we evaluated whether it was working, how the public reacted, how our members of our organization reacted on this initiative. And Actually, that was positive. So since after 2009, we also developed criteria for pigs, laying hens, beef cattle, dairy cattle, calves, turkeys, and rabbits. And of course, we also continued with the chicken meat and developed criteria for 2 and 3 stars. So that this was the introduction in 2007. And here you see a picture of the Minister of Agriculture of that time that introduced this label for the press. So it was big news in the Netherlands in 2007. So then we have 3 levels of the Better Leven label. I will tell you later a little bit more about the broilers, but overall the first star is better animal welfare, lower stocking density, enrichment, etc. For 2 stars, the animals are able to have a free range or go outside, and 3 stars is organic. Compared to organic or animal-orientated designing of housing systems. And then you can think about maybe, Rondeel, Kipster stables, which are also maybe well known, I think. How do we develop criteria? So the basis is science. So we use start from the 5 domains of Meller, EFSA reports, of course, and other scientific basis. We also look around us, what other recognized standards are there in the market. And it has to be, of course, above a basic level of legislation, and it has to be a step forward in animal welfare. But it also has to be applicable in practice, because the farmers have already their own housing system. So you can't ask for a big rebuilding of all the stables. So it has to be applicable and also feasible in the market, because supermarkets don't like very high rising of prices. So in the end, for the 1 star, you have to make some compromises. But there are, of course, borderlines in below which we don't want to make more compromises about animal welfare. And the criteria are developed with stakeholders like farmers, supply chains, and supermarkets. And what is the governance? The dierenbescherming is the owner of the Beter Leven label, and we developed the animal welfare criteria. We also communicate about the Beter Leven label, and we are not funded by industry because we want to stay independent. So all the people that are working on the Beter Leven label are paid by dierenbescherming. But in 2012, there was a new foundation, Beter Leven label, we founded it because it was very important, because the label was growing, to have a good certification and auditing. So this is an organization that is independent also, and is paid by the industry for the assurance and certification. So all the members that are using the Beter Leven label have to pay for their certification. And how does the certification work? So the foundation Beter Leven label supervises all the participants, but also the independent certification bodies that do entry inspections, annual inspections, unannounced inspections, track and trace. So they buy products in the supermarket and trace it all back to the farm, so they can see it's really Beter Leven label. Because for us it's very important that it's reliable. And we also introduced chain directors, that are mostly people working at slaughterhouses or egg packing stations that have contacts with the farmers, but also with the supermarkets, so they can balance the ask from the market and the number of farmers that are needed for this productions. Oh, sorry. So yes. So what are the numbers for the Beter Leven label? So we have since 2012 over 600. Oh, I don't see it. 685 million animals with a better life yearly, and you see that the numbers are rising. And here you see how many animals in 2024 have had a better life label. And the largest part are the broilers with 155 million animals because they have a shorter lifespan. There are more rounds in a year, but also a lot of pigs. And I will tell you a little bit more about that later. The number of farms it's not only in the Netherlands, it's within the EU, but most farms are in the Netherlands actually. So you see that 772 pig farmers and 644 broiler farms. So that's like a little bit of an overview of how the Beter Leven label works. Then I will tell you something more about the broiler transition in the Netherlands, because that is really a story. And I have to tell, it's not all planned, but it's how it works. So as I told you, in 2007 we introduced the Better Life label for supermarkets. And then there was still a lot of societal pressure. We had an action group of Acadia that did a lot of campaigning against the fast-growing broilers, like they called it plofkip, like exploding chicken. Maybe you can translate it like that. And there was a lot of pressure on the supermarkets, also from society and consumers, to do more about animal welfare. And of course, they had already Beter Leven products, like all the pig meat basically was 1-star Beter Leven. But for the chicken, there was maybe 20% of the market was Beter Leven label. So then in 2013, the supermarkets introduced their own intermediate chicken brands to close a little bit the gap between conventional and Beter Leven products. So that was a slower growing breed, but growing a little bit faster than the 1-star Beter Leven breed. There was a lower stocking density and some enrichment. It was at all not the same as 1-star Beter Leven label. But maybe this was a stepping stone towards the next step from the supermarkets, because in 2021, within 2 months, 9 supermarkets announced publicly that in 2024 they would have replaced all the chicken meat with fresh chicken meat that complies with the 1-star Beter Leven label. So all the fresh chicken meat in the supermarkets is now 1-star Beter Leven label. They reached this in 2024. It was all done. So they did actually what they announced in 2021. And nowadays, about 80% of the Dutch broiler farmers are certified for Beter Leven label. But then we have a small hiccup, actually, because in order to produce for the Beter Leven label, farmers have to have a covered outdoor run or a covered veranda, like you see here in this picture. But we have a nitrogen crisis in the Netherlands, so no permits to build anything actually in the Netherlands are issued. So a lot of farmers that want to build a covered veranda are not allowed to do so. So we have we have permitted the farmers to wait to build the veranda until they have the building permit. But this will end actually in some years, because we cannot wait too long, because it's one of the criteria of the Beter Leven label. So again, we work together with the Ministry of Agriculture and supermarkets and farmers and slaughterhouses, etc., in order to try to make an end to this complete standstill of building permits. And it's very difficult, because even building houses is not allowed in the Netherlands at the moment. So this is really a hiccup, and we have to find a solution for that. But still, the 1-star broiler chickens, they have daylight in the stables. They have a stocking density of 25 kilo per square meter. So the welfare is still a lot better, but they are missing the veranda, which we are not very pleased about. But this is what it is, and it's very difficult to change it at the moment. But hopefully with the new government, there will be some change. So when you see again Here you see the total picture of the number of beta-laver broiler farms over the year. So here, 2013, here was the chicken of tomorrow, the in-between segment of the supermarkets. You see it, the beta-laver stayed stable for a long time, about 20% market share. And suddenly, 2021, there was the announcement of the supermarkets that they would change to a basic level of beta-laven. Suddenly, the number of farmers with beta-laven labels had a very fast growth. And here you see the same in the picture of the market share in the supermarkets. So it stayed a long time around 20%. And suddenly, 2023 and 24, it was a steep change, and now 93% of the market in the supermarket change. Market share is 93%. So then a little bit about the welfare, but of course you know a lot about the welfare of broilers, I think, but here a little bit about the differences. So the growth rate of the Better Life label is less than 45 grams a day, and mostly now it's the Hubbard JA757. So they have less foot pad lesions, less mobility problems, less pain, and they are more active. And also the female parent breeders are slower growing and do not suffer from chronic hunger. The stocking density is 25 kilo per square meter. Yes, they have the enrichment, daylight, covered veranda, but when all the farms have that. And we are also inspecting the slaughterhouses, so they are only allowed to use the multi-phase CO2 stunning. You see it also in the antibiotic use in the Netherlands. It's used, it's measured every year. So here you see the mean of the fast-growing broilers, and here the median. For the one-star beta-laven broilers, here you see the level, the mean level, but the median it's actually almost zero. It's very, very low level of antibiotic use. So that's really positive outcome, I think, also for of course, the health of the broilers. Then the role of the consumers compared to the supermarkets, that we see that the consumers find animal welfare very important, but they also want to be unburdened when they have a choice in the supermarket between a little bit cheaper chicken and more expensive chicken. You saw it in the numbers. Only it's stuck at 20% market share. So consumers are still very price oriented. So, but they find animal welfare important, and they actually ask from supermarkets that they will arrange it for them, and so that they don't want to have to think about it. So actually it was the supermarkets that were leading in this whole transition to broilers, 100% of all fresh meat, Better Life label broilers. So they started to build chains, the dedicated chains that would supply their supermarkets with the Better Life label chicken. And for the supermarkets, due to the actions of social groups, their image is very important for them. That's a social driver, actually, CSR policy. And competition amongst each other with other supermarkets on sustainability, so they can say, oh, I have more animal welfare products, and then the others will follow. That's also important. So mostly Albert Heijn set the first step in the Netherlands, and the rest of the supermarkets would follow. And also the government is supporting it, but they find it very practical and good that we all arrange it with the market, and that they don't have to do much. Only they shouldn't be in the way of the whole transition. That would be better. So this is a little bit of a recap. So you see that the Better Life label is now the norm, the standard on animal welfare in the supermarkets. It's all the pig meat, chicken meat, and also eggs have a minimum of 1-star Better Life label in the supermarkets in the Netherlands. And yeah, that is really a big step, I think, that they all did it. And what do we all else see in this whole movement towards beter leven labeling as a whole? So the farmers are also positive about this transition, especially in the broilers, but also other sectors, because at first they were a little bit afraid that dierenbescherming was telling them how to keep their chicken, but then now, especially working with slower growing broilers, they have much more fun in working with these animals. They all say, we don't want to go back to fast growing broilers. This is more easy. We have more pleasure in working in this way. Now, the slaughterhouses, they have also had to adjust their system on, in the slaughterhouse, because we have extra demands for slaughtering. We also work now on AI camera surveillance in slaughterhouses, so we have even more controlling on the slaughterhouses, and they have a strict segregation of the beter leven products versus other non-beter leven products. The supermarkets have they are now more buying Dutch livestock farmers' products. They work in dedicated production chains. They also have contacts now with the farmers. So there are shorter and more dedicated production chains, and that's also really positive because now they know each other. It's more anonymous, and they are working together. And then what is also important, and what the supermarkets and the slaughterhouses did, is when you have a beter leven label chicken, it's very important to make as lot of as possible use of this chicken with the beter leven label. So all use as much part of the chickens with the beter leven label, so that you can spread the costs about more over more products, and we call it carcass valorization. And so the slaughterhouses developed all kinds of other products and meals and even mayonnaise with beter leven label eggs, for instance. So use as much as you can under the label so you can spread the costs. So the result, so it was the cooperation, the commitment of all the parties, very important. We have shared interests with the industry, so we want to improve animal welfare. They want to have a better image and work together. So you have to be able to work together and to trust each other. That's very important. And for everyone has their own, every stakeholder has their own interest, but with these interests, you are able to work together and make a success of this. So that's actually what I would want to say.
Thank you very much, Marijke. Very interesting. I see that we already have some questions for you in the channel, and I see also that we will have like 5 minutes for some question. And I really would like you, if you ask question here, to ask a specific question for this presentation. So, but there will be an opportunity with a general discussion at the end of this webinar. So please, Julia, what will the first question be?
Yeah, the first question is, the improvement is for fresh meat, but what about broilers raised for further processed products?
Yes, so a lot of the meat is also used for processed products like meals, like sausages. What do you have? What I said, the eggs in mayonnaise. So a lot of, as much as possible, is used for all the of the Better Life label animal into different products with the label on it, and it's all certified. So also the processed products are all inspected and certified through the whole production chain.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. So, and the second question, have you considered to include more welfare improving measures indoors for farms that cannot build a veranda yet. For instance, more types of enrichment. I mean, temporarily until the veranda can be built.
Yes, of course, we have considered it, and actually, it lasted longer and longer and longer, and so we didn't know how long it all would last. And we have now still a very strict deadline, but we are looking for alternatives. So possibly, maybe we will consider it, but at the moment we were not getting to it actually because we were hoping that it would start again, and that farmers would be able to build a covered veranda.
Thank you. There's just maybe a third question. It's a bit time for it. It's a short question, I think. Elise said, thank you, Mareike. It's better leven 1-star equal to European chicken commitment. That is the question.
No, the Beter Leven label is going farther as concerned animal welfare because the European chicken commitment doesn't have a covered outdoor run. I think the broilers are growing a little bit faster and the stocking density is a little bit higher. So, and also the enforcement is different, I think.
Yeah, that's true. The stocking density for the ECC is 30 kilogram per square meters, and you have 25. Yeah. All right. So now, so far we have no questions.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that was perfect timing. So thank you very much, Mike. And you will be back for the general discussion. And now it's a pleasure for me to introduce, there will be a video by Grégoire Midi from La Belle Rouge Terrena. And Grégoire is the director of La Belle Rouge Terrena group called Le Fermier des Anansis. And has been one of the group's veterinarian for many years. And the presentation will be in French with English subtexts. And after that, our precious national BroilerNet facilitator, Aude Claubert, will take the questions and give them in French to Grégoire, and we will have possibilities to ask Grégoire questions. So
okay,
please, Julia.
Yeah, I'm going to share. Just need to check, is it really? Yeah, okay.
Bonjour à tous. Je tiens déjà à remercier les organisateurs de BroilerNet pour nous donner l'occasion de parler de cette filière fermière en France, notamment au travers du label rouge. Cette filière en France est, je pense, méconnue au niveau européen. Je m'appelle Grégoire Midi, je suis directeur de Terrena et Fermiers d'Anceny, qui est la filière label rouge de Terrena, une coopérative dans l'ouest de la France. Déjà retracer un peu l'histoire des labels rouges. Les labels rouges sont nés dans une période un peu troublée qui était l'après-guerre, où il fallait nourrir la population dans un système agricole extrêmement désorganisé. Et ce sont très vite les modèles à forte productivité qui ont pris le pas au détriment de la qualité. En réaction, deux grandes régions de production, traditionnellement de production de volailles, ont réagi par rapport à ça, notamment ce sont les Landes dans le sud-ouest, et puis une région autour du Mans, la région de l'Oué, qui ont remis au goût du jour et réactivé des organisations de production tournant autour des volailles fermières de tradition. Donc les premières productions dans ces deux régions ont commencé à la fin des années 50, et très vite d'autres organisations sont nées en France et se sont très vite organisées au sein d'un syndicat qui s'appelle le SINALAF, le syndicat national des labels avicoles français, qui est né en 1967. Il faudra attendre 1966 pour voir apparaître le logo label rouge, qui n'était pas sous la forme que vous voyez là, suite à un très fort engagement de l'État français pour revenir à des productions ou au moins offrir aux consommateurs une alternative de production sous signe de qualité et de qualité. En France, voilà un peu comment se répartissent les productions. Le standard représente à peu près 70%, qui est suivi du label rouge pour 14%. Ensuite, on a une production qui plafonne à 5%, qui est le certifié, les certificats de conformation produit. Et puis le biologique, production biologique à 1%. L'évolution du label rouge a été très régulière depuis sa naissance jusque dans les années 2000, où on a labellisé presque 120 millions de volailles. C'était vraiment l'apogée. Et après, elle a connu un plateau avec des hauts et des bas, on va dire, mais une crise plus importante au début des années 2020, avec des problèmes sanitaires qui a été l'influenza, où on a eu des zones qui ont été extrêmement touchées, comme le sud-ouest, avec la mixité entre le canard et puis la volaille, le poulet, et puis surtout aussi l'inflation suite au conflit ukrainien, et des matières premières qui ont fortement monté et qui ont impacté effectivement le marché de cette volaille fermière. Aujourd'hui, on labellise à peu près 94-95 millions de volailles en France. Alors, en quoi le label rouge est-il différent des autres productions? Donc là, je vais vous montrer les familles qu'on retrouve en France, dont on a parlé tout à l'heure. Le poulet classique que vous connaissez, avec des croissances rapides, poulet lourd, croissance rapide, type Ross 308. Les âges minimum d'abattage, c'est surtout en fonction du poids, de 36 à 42 jours en fonction du poids qui est abattoir. C'est un système qui est en claustration, avec des densités de 22 à peu près ou plus au mètre carré, mais en termes de kilos au mètre carré en termes de kilotage. Alimentation 100% végétale. Un nouveau venu depuis quelques années, le poulet European Chicken, le CC, qui est une souche intermédiaire, à croissance intermédiaire en tout cas, avec un âge minimal d'abattage de 40 à 50 jours. C'est une production qui est faite aussi en claustration. Et on élève ces volailles dans les mêmes bâtiments, il n'y a pas de différence. En termes de densité, on est en dessous des 30 km² pour répondre aux exigences de l'European Chicken. Un parcours à alimentation 100% végétale, dont 70% de céréales minimales. Le poulet certifié, alors le poulet certifié est un poulet qui sort à l'extérieur, c'est l'équivalent du free range en Angleterre, Better Level aux Pays-Bas. Croissance intermédiaire, type 857, 56 jours d'âge minimum. C'est un poulet qui sort à l'extérieur la moitié de sa vie, sur un parcours de 1 mètre carré par volaille. Il est élevé dans des bâtiments qui ont un parcours accessible, effectivement, donc les tailles du bâtiment importent peu, avec une densité initiale de 13 au mètre carré, et dans le cahier des charges, au niveau de la nutrition, c'est un aliment 100% végétal et 70% de céréales. Enfin, le poulet fermier label rouge, là qui est vraiment le premier poulet avec une croissance lente, 81 jours minimum. C'est un poulet qui est élevé soit en plein air, soit en liberté, en fonction ou pas de son parcours est fermé. Ce sont des petits bâtiments de 400 mètres carrés maximum, et puis des densités à la mise en place de 11 mètres carrés et un kilotage mètre carré qui va être inférieur à 25 kg au mètre carré à 80 jours. Un parcours avec minimum 2 mètres carrés par volaille, et puis une alimentation 100% végétale, dont 75% de céréales minimum. Et enfin, le poulet biologique, qui est là, le choix est plus ouvert avec une croissance lente ou intermédiaire, suivant si on fait du poulet à destination de la découpe. 81 jours minimum, c'est un poulet qui est élevé en plein air, des bâtiments qui vont être plus grands qu'en label, avec 480 mètres carrés maximum. Une densité initiale plus faible qu'en label, avec 10 au mètre carré, et un kilotage qui va être inférieur à 21 kg au mètre carré. Les parcours, eux, qui sont 2 fois plus grands qu'en label, avec 4 mètres carrés par volaille, et une alimentation 100% végétale, dont 90% des matières premières doivent être issues de l'agriculture biologique, et puis 65% de céréales minimum. Donc le label rouge, qu'est-ce qu'il apporte? C'est la seule production dont le cahier des charges garantit deux choses: la qualité supérieure du produit, qui est délivrée dans le cadre d'une certification par un organisme extérieur indépendant, et puis une promesse sur le goût, grâce à une qualité sensorielle et organoleptique qui va être supérieure et préférée par rapport à un produit de référence, qui est souvent le produit standard. Donc il y a énormément de choses effectivement derrière ce logo label rouge. Là, je vais vous présenter la grande famille label rouge, avec les différentes volailles qui sont élevées. Alors, ce n'est pas une présentation exhaustive, mais ce sont les principales. Le poulet fermier jaune, donc il y a des poulets fermiers jaunes avec des plumes colorées et une peau jaune. Il y a deux sélectionneurs en France qui aujourd'hui font de la sélection pour ces productions fermières. C'est la société Hubart et la société Sasso. Donc pour le poulet jaune, Hubart c'est principalement la souche 757N et la Sasso le T451N. 81 jours minimum, ça on l'a dit tout à l'heure. Vous voyez les croissances sont très limitées avec 26 grammes 6, 26 grammes 8 par jour. Ont été labellisés en 2024 53 millions de poulets label jaune. Depuis 10 ans, 10-15 ans, on va dire, c'est maintenant le poulet qui est le plus commercialisé, puisqu'il a effectivement des qualités gustatives différentes des autres poulets d'Algue. Et ensuite, le poulet fermier blanc, avec les deux mêmes sélectionneurs. Donc là, c'est le JA57 pour Hubbard et le T551 pour la Sasso. Des croissances légèrement supérieures, 27 grammes par jour, et puis ont été labellisés 30 millions de volailles en 2024. Le poulet fermier noir, donc ça c'est un poulet qui est très tôt dans le label et qui maintenant régresse. C'est un poulet avec des plumes noires et des pattes et peaux grises. C'est le S86 chez Hubbard et chez la Sasso c'est le T751N. GMQ un petit peu plus élevé encore, 28 grammes par jour et ont été labellisés en 2024 5 millions de volailles de poulets fermiers noirs. La première, cette grande inconnue, on va dire, je plaisante un peu en disant ça, c'est vrai que c'est une volaille qui est très différente des autres Gallus, puisque c'est vraiment un animal très sauvage, on va dire. C'est une volaille d'origine africaine et qui a un comportement totalement différent du poulet. Deux sélectionnés en France, Essor et Galore. Et là, ce sont des volailles avec une croissance plus faible, 22 grammes par jour, donc avec des âges minimums d'abattage de 94 jours. En 2024, 3,5 millions de pintades fermières ont été labellisées. Donc c'est une production qui baisse chaque année parce que c'est un produit qui est peu connu, alors évidemment qui est plus cher que le poulet et qui est peu connu. Et pourtant c'est une volaille au niveau gastronomique qui tire sur les pieds et très intéressante. Ensuite nous avons la famille des festifs avec le numéro 1 qui est le chapon. Donc pour rappel, le chapon est un mâle castré chirurgicalement, castré vers 25-28 jours. Âge minimum d'abattage 150 jours. Il y a des chapons blancs et des chapons jaunes, et ce sont exactement les mêmes souches qui permettent d'élever les poulets jaunes et les poulets blancs dont on a parlé tout à l'heure. Des poulets à abattage de 4,2 kg à peu près. En 2024, il y a eu 1,2 million de chapons qui ont été labellisés. C'est effectivement un des favoris des consommateurs lors des fêtes de Noël, où on aime bien en France se réunir autour d'un chapon fermier. La poularde fermière, c'est une production qui est moins bien connue parce que le mot poularde fait penser à une vieille poule, alors que c'est tout le contraire. C'est une jeune poule qui n'a pas commencé à pondre, avec un âge minimal de 120 jours. Il y a des poulardes blanches et des poulardes jaunes. Poids d'abattage à peu près 2,7 kg, 2,8 kg, 2,9 kg, j'ai mis là. Et il y a eu 1,2 million de poulards qui ont été labellisés en 2024. Et enfin, la dinde fermière, c'est une dinde noire à croissance lente qui est sélectionnée par Hendrix aujourd'hui. Un âge d'abattage de 140 jours minimum et un prix d'abattage de 4,5 kg à peu près. 4 kg. En 2024, on a été labellisés un petit peu moins de 200 000 dindes fermières. Là aussi, ce sont des consommateurs plutôt vieillissants qui connaissent bien la dinde, comme un peu la pintade tout à l'heure, et qui diminuent chaque année en production. Donc voilà la grande famille. Je ne vous ai pas parlé des oies à la belle rouge, mais c'est une autre histoire, on va dire. Je vous propose un témoignage d'éleveur qui va parler un peu de son métier, et puis vous allez découvrir aussi les premières images de ces volailles élevées en plein air qui interagissent énormément avec l'homme. Donc je vous laisse la parole à Yves.
Le label rouge, c'est le signe officiel de la qualité supérieure. Nous avons plaisir à faire partie d'un groupe d'éleveurs qui produisent des volailles de qualité, qui sont élevées en plein air et en liberté. Ces volailles, nous les gardons pendant 89 jours. Pendant cette période, elles sortent sur le parcours de vie, ce qui leur confère une grande qualité. L'éleveur est fier de faire de la volaille label rouge, car c'est une volaille qui est croissante, qui sort à l'extérieur sur des parcours herbeux. Toutes les volailles fermières label rouge sont mises essentiellement à base de céréales, donc ce qui leur confère cette saveur et cette tendreté de viande. En élevant les volailles de cette manière-là, on pense forcément au consommateur qui, lui, est en recherche de cette qualité, de cette notion nutritionnelle qui se rapproche un petit peu. Et on arrive, en travaillant de cette manière-là, à produire cette qualité et ce goût. À partir du moment où le consommateur choisit une volaille label rouge, il est assuré que cette volaille a été contrôlée de la naissance jusqu'à la vache. Nous sommes fermiers avant tout.
Voilà pour ce témoignage d'un éleveur de volailles label rouge. Donc, qui a parlé de son métier, et j'espère que vous avez pu observer le comportement des volailles et l'interaction avec le milieu dont on reparlera tout à l'heure, des animaux qui picorent, qui grattent, qui vont chercher des feuilles. Voilà, c'est très important par rapport à ça. Passer les diapos suivants. Je vais vous parler maintenant de l'organisation un peu des labels rouges en France. Donc il y a deux niveaux. Il y a un premier niveau, c'est le niveau national, où le label rouge, ce qui est important de savoir, c'est une marque qui est partagée. Donc nous avons tous une co-responsabilité, les différentes organisations, différents groupements, puisque c'est une marque qui appartient à l'État, et c'est ce qui en fait sa très bonne notoriété au niveau du consommateur, et elle est gérée par un institut qui s'appelle l'Institut national de l'origine et de la qualité, l'INAO, donc vous voyez le logo là sur la droite. Cet institut gère les conditions communes de production. Donc, les conditions communes de production, c'est le cahier des charges qui s'applique à toute production de volaille. À partir du moment où on va avoir imposé sur nos étiquettes ce logo label rouge, il faut absolument répondre à ces conditions communes de production. À ce premier niveau s'ajoute un deuxième niveau, au niveau des organisations, au niveau des territoires. Et là, l'État confie la gestion de ce deuxième niveau à des structures de type associative qui s'appellent les organismes de défense et de gestion. C'est un élément très important, comme on le verra tout à l'heure, dans l'organisation de ces productions. Et ces organismes de défense et de gestion gèrent et défendent les conditions spécifiques de production. Donc effectivement, chaque organisme va pouvoir rajouter par rapport au cahier des charges qui est commun à tout le monde, des spécificités qui viennent en plus pour donner un produit spécifique à son organisation. Et qui dit cahier des charges dit forcément contrôle. Donc, qui contrôle? Ce sont des contrôles à deux niveaux, avec l'EDG qui surveille effectivement les différents opérateurs de sa filière, qui respectent bien les cahiers des charges par des contrôles internes, des audits internes. Et puis le deuxième niveau, par un organisme certificateur indépendant, qui lui va faire du contrôle externe. Aujourd'hui, en France, on a 19 organismes de défense et de gestion qui sont répertoriés pour 94 millions de volailles labellisées. Elles sont surtout basées dans l'ouest de la France et le sud-ouest, pour les plus importantes. Et puis des productions dans le centre de la France et dans le sillon Rhône-Alpes de la France. Alors le processus de certification, voilà comment il s'organise. Ça tourne beaucoup autour effectivement de l'organisme de gestion qui va choisir un organisme certificateur pour assurer ses contrôles externes des différents opérateurs de la filière, que ce sont les couvoirs, les usines de nutrition animale qui vont alimenter les animaux, les groupements de producteurs et les producteurs, ainsi que les abattoirs. Donc, il contrôle tous les maillons de la filière. L'organisme de défense et de gestion ainsi que l'organisme certificateur, chaque année, rendent compte à l'Institut national de l'origine et de la qualité pour justement rendre des différents contrôles qui ont été opérés et la gestion des écarts qui ont pu apparaître lors de ces contrôles. Au niveau de la fréquence du contrôle des opérateurs, donc les couvoirs sont contrôlés une fois par an. Les éleveurs, eux, sont contrôlés à chaque lot, et c'est ce qui est vraiment atypique parmi les autres professions de en France. Tous les autres sont contrôlés. Les usines d'aliments sont des contrôles administratifs. Maintenant, c'est l'usine de RCNA, qui est un cahier des charges gérant les 24 hygiènes et les règles de traçabilité au niveau des usines d'aliments. Les groupements sont contrôlés 2 fois par an, et les 4 fois par an. Donc, rotation sur les abattoirs et sur les éleveurs. Le bien-être animal, je voudrais faire un point sur le bien-être animal parce qu'effectivement, c'est un peu de la qualité et du goût. C'est aussi le fer de lance du label rouge. Le label rouge répond aux attentes citoyennes en matière de bien-être animal de par ses conditions communes de production. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il utilise des souches à croissance lente. Et puis, ce sont des densités, comme vous avez pu le voir tout à l'heure, des densités faibles en élevage avec 11 sujets au mètre carré. Des élevages qui sont en lumière naturelle pour respecter les circulaires des animaux, et puis des accès à un parcours arboré à partir du 42e jour, avec un minimum de 20 arbres sur le parcours. Vous verrez le rôle de l'arbre, je vais vous l'expliquer tout à l'heure, sur le comportement des animaux. Des parcours de 2 mètres carrés par volaille, ainsi qu'un abattoir qui ne doit pas être à plus de 100 km des élevages, ou maximum 3 heures de transport. Un autre point aussi différenciant par rapport au bien-être animal, c'est le temps de repos de 30 minutes minimum entre l'arrivée des animaux à l'abattoir et le début de l'abattage. Maintenant, je vais vous donner un exemple justement de spécificité qu'on peut rajouter, que chaque organisation peut rajouter sur les charges dans ses conditions spécifiques de production. Et je vais vous prendre l'exemple des fermes Danceny, avec une philosophie en termes de bien-être animal. On n'a pas voulu faire d'anthropomorphisme, de toute autre chose qui n'aurait jamais été acceptée par nos éleveurs. Mais c'est de donner, la philosophie, c'est de donner la possibilité à l'oiseau, parce que nos volailles sont des oiseaux, d'exprimer leur comportement naturel. Donc on est vraiment sur une approche éthologique des animaux. Donc qu'est-ce qui est mis en place en plus du label rouge au fermier Danceny? C'est une distribution obligatoire de blé à la volée dès le 35e jour. Donc là, vous voyez bien ce geste où on reproduit le geste des fermiers et des fermières d'autrefois qui jetaient du blé dans les basses-cours. Et ça permet aux animaux, 3 choses, de répondre. Ce sont des granivores, donc ils mangent du grain entier. Ils ne mangent pas que de la farine, mais ils mangent aussi du grain entier. Et ça leur permet aussi de gratter et de picorer, ce qui sont 2 éléments de leur comportement naturel qui sont essentiels. Ensuite, on met à la disposition des animaux des perchoirs avec 128 mètres linéaires de perche disponibles dès le 35e jour. Alors, les perchoirs, parce que le animal qui se perche, il a développé un jabot pour pouvoir chercher des aliments au sol et se percher pour se mettre sur 2 minutes de perche et 2 minutes de sol. Et ça permet de gagner en calme justement dans les âges et de limiter justement les comportements de fatigue qui peuvent arriver. Des sorties aussi plus précoces dans le cahier des charges label rouge. C'est sorti au plus tard au 32e jour, on sort de voler au 137e jour. Alors, du fait qu'on est dans une région sur l'embouchure de la Loire avec un climat doux et océanique, on a très peu de gelée chez nous, donc on peut sortir les animaux 5 jours plus tôt et ça donne l'occasion d'aller picorer, gratter, explorer le parcours 5 jours plus tôt que les autres labels. Et puis on a mis un accent très important sur l'arbre, tout simplement parce que notre région est une région bocagère, et plutôt que de mettre des arbres isolés, on a choisi d'implanter des mètres linéaires de haies bocagères, donc des aliments d'arbres. Alors la haie, elle procure plein de rapport aux poulets. C'est un superbe paravent. Et vent, les poulets aiment bien être à l'abri du vent, ils n'aiment pas quand le vent s'engouffre dans les plumes, ils sont complètement étouffés. C'est aussi un très bon pare-soleil, les animaux passent l'été du temps à l'ombre de ces haies, et puis c'est une protection très efficace contre les prédateurs, notamment les rapaces. Dès qu'il y a un rapace qui s'annonce, ou dès que le poulet voit un rapace arriver, effectivement, il va se réfugier sous les haies, où là le rapace va avoir beaucoup plus de difficultés à les attaquer, et les animaux vont très repère vont très rapidement. Des atouts et des faiblesses du label rouge. Donc les atouts, effectivement, pour le consommateur, c'est une garantie de la qualité supérieure. Alors quand on dit ça, c'est pas quelque chose que l'on réclame comme ça. Non, on doit prouver chaque année que nous sommes de qualité supérieure par un panel de consommateurs dans un laboratoire, COFRAC, sur des profils sensoriels et au niveau ionique. C'est-à-dire qu'on va demander à ce panel de consommateurs s'il aime ou s'il préfère le produit A par rapport au produit B. Et comme ça, on voit si finalement il préfère le label par rapport au produit de comparaison. Et si dans les profils sensoriels, on retrouve bien nos typicités. Répondre aussi aux attentes du consommateur en matière de qualité, de descripteurs sensoriels que peuvent être la fermeté, la juteosité, la tendreté, et donc du plaisir que le consommateur a en bouche quand il déguste ces volailles label rouge. Donc c'est le seul cahier des charges qui garantit cette qualité supérieure. C'est aussi un produit qui a une très grande confiance vis-à-vis du consommateur et des citoyens, puisqu'en termes de notoriété, le label rouge a 60% de notoriété en spontanée et 90% en assisté, ce qui est quand même extrêmement élevé. Et c'est une marque, un logo qui a toujours résisté face aux crises, des crises sanitaires, etc. Donc c'est une production qui a une très grande résistance dans le temps et par rapport aux crises. C'est aussi en lien avec des filières qui sont extrêmement contrôlées, comme vous avez pu le voir tout à l'heure. Et ça répond aujourd'hui aux attentes citoyennes, hein, même si ce ne sont pas des consommateurs de volailles ou pas des consommateurs de volailles label rouge. C'est un mode de production fermier, de type familial, et puis avec un bien-être et une préservation de l'environnement sur des animaux effectivement qui sont sur un très bon parcours. Les faiblesses, il y en a du label rouge, comme vous l'avez pu vous noter, c'est une production qui fait face à de très grandes complexités administratives avec l'Institut national d'appellation de l'origine et de la qualité, qui est aussi assez lourd, surtout dès qu'on veut les faire évoluer. Donc soit faire évoluer ses propres cahiers des charges, ou faire évoluer les conditions communes de production, ou alors d'accéder à de nouveaux produits. Il y a 20 ans, 30 ans, l'essentiel du label rouge était consommé sous la forme de poulet entier. Évidemment, la découpe, praticité, s'est fortement développée depuis. Et puis maintenant, effectivement, le consommateur attend d'autres choses, notamment sur des produits plus élaborés, type brochette, produits élaborés, marinés, chair à saucisses, produits cuits. Et là, ce sont effectivement des évolutions que l'on demande et qui doivent passer au niveau de l'Institut national de l'origine et de la qualité. Et c'est des dossiers qui peuvent prendre 1 an, 2 ans, extrêmement lourds. Donc ça, c'est un vrai, effectivement, c'est une vraie complexité de ce dossier. Comme vous l'avez vu, ce sont des productions à productivité faible, et donc il y a des coûts de production qui sont élevés. Donc là, il faut arriver à toucher les consommateurs avec des prix qui soient acceptables. Il y a une immobilisation assez importante du foncier qui peuvent poser problème dans certaines régions où le foncier a une certaine valeur. Faible attractivité de nouveaux investisseurs qui aujourd'hui préfèrent aller effectivement sur la production standard ou de la pondeuse qui génère beaucoup plus de revenus. Et puis, notre difficulté aujourd'hui, effectivement, c'est de renouveler la génération. Donc voilà, j'ai fait un petit peu de la présentation que je voulais faire. Je vous remercie pour votre écoute et je me tiens à votre disposition pour toute question.
Thank you very much, Grégoire. Julia, question.
Not in the chat, but is there no artificial lighting? So is there lighting in addition to natural light? What is the day-night cycle for the housing?
Grégoire, bonjour. Je vais te traduire du coup. C'est la question que je t'avais posée, tu sais, par message. C'était en gros, est-ce que il y a de la lumière artificielle dans les bâtiments, en plus de la lumière naturelle, et si oui, quel est le cycle jour-nuit?
Alors, bonjour à tous. Désolé, my English is too bad and I prefer to speak in French. Sorry. Effectivement, il y a un accompagnement en lumière artificielle dans les bâtiments qui peuvent être utilisés notamment, par exemple, l'hiver où la durée du jour est très courte. Par contre, il y a un temps minimum de repos, c'est-à-dire de nuit totale de 6 heures continues.
Okay, thanks. So I will translate. So effectively, there is artificial light in the buildings, especially in the winter period, and we need a minimum of 6 hours of continuous night time rests in the buildings. And he apologized to not speaking in English.
No worries, no worries.
No,
It's great to have you here.
Yeah,
Really.
thank
Really
you
nice.
very much, Odd and Gregoire. Due to the agenda we have, which is quite tight, we will have a break now until 11:15. So please be back at 11:15, and then we continue. And if you have questions for Gregoire, you can ask them later when we have the general discussion. So please be back 11:15. Thank you. So welcome back to this webinar, and we have had 2 speakers before the break, and now we will have our third speaker, and that will be Henrik Wiedenroth. And Henrik has been working in the purchase department at the retailer company Lidl in Germany since 2023, and he is responsible for the animal welfare and German agriculture here. And before that, before he joined Lidl, he held a position at the German Farmers Association and on a dairy farm. And he also holds an academic degree, a master degree in agriculture from the universities of Kiel, Göttingen, as well as Helsinki in Finland. And he will present the perspective of a retailer demanding fresh meat from slower growing broilers in labeling programs. So you're very welcome, Henrik. Please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. We're happy to be here and discuss with you a little bit about our sustainability strategy. I will share a few slides with you. If you let me see. I hope you can see the slides now.
Yes, I think so. Yep.
Perfect.
Looks
All right.
excellent.
Perfect. So generally speaking, if we look at our sustainability strategy at Lidl in Germany, we do have a number of different goals and things that we look at. Just to set the stage a little bit, animal welfare is one of them. But we're also looking at conscious nutrition, which for us means how do we align with our climate perspective, do we reduce salt and sugar, children's marketing, etc., etc. And of course, for us, it's also very important to understand what our stakeholders in our supply chain are thinking, what kind of problems they're having. And therefore, this discussion here and exchange is really, really helpful for us to understand what can we do better, and maybe to also bring our perspective a bit into the discussion. If we look at the German Haltungsform, and that's a bit the basis for what we're discussing with slower growing breeds as well, it's important to recognize that this Haltungsform by itself is not an animal welfare or sustainability program by itself. In Germany in 2019 and 18, we had a bit of a situation where you did see a very broad number of different animal welfare and sustainability programs. And it was really hard to identify, okay, does this program require more ambitious criteria than the other? How are they aligning and comparing with one another, etc., etc.? And therefore, we did develop a guiding system that was later on brought together by all the retailers in Germany to what you can now see as the Haltungsform, that is basically categorizing the existing animal welfare programs in Germany according to the animal welfare standards that they are providing. So it's quite graphic here. Everything goes in, then it's sorted to level 1 to 5. We are going to have a look at what level 1 really requires and what level 5 really requires in a minute. What's important is if you look at the products, and that's what you can see on the right side, is that the Haltungsform is today at the 4 large retailers in Germany at about 90 to 95% of all fresh meat products are labeled with a Haltungsform system. So it's become in a very short period of time a very broad labeling system that over 80% of our customers know, recognize, and that helps them to choose accordingly. If we look at the criteria itself, I've tried to give you a bit of an overview, and what's I think important in the first step is to recognize that the Haltungsform not only takes space or genetics into consideration, but every program is judged and categorized by a number of different criteria that they need to meet. So if we look at Haltungsform 1, that's generally speaking a legal minimum in Germany. Space is one of them. Rearing is another one. Okay, are the animals held indoor, outdoor? Genetics, enrichment of the environment within the barn. Feed is a very important step for us, but also a recognition of animal health. And every program within the Haltungsform, maybe except for level 5, we're going to look at that in a minute, needs to have a monitoring of the antibiotic use in their barns and also of the animal welfare criteria. So once the animals go to slaughtering, certain criteria and information are collected from the animals. How are their feet? How are their bones? Do we have any symptoms in their organs that can help us get feedback on the conditions of their living environment on a farm level? And then we also have third-party audits within the Haltungsform, and that's something that's very, very important for us, that farms go through a regular audit every year, but that they also go through an ad hoc audit that is not announced prior. So someone comes to the farm, does a quick checkup, is everything all right here? Yes, no, because we believe that it really helps the transparency and the reliance for the system, that there is a frequent and quite strict auditing. That may be to set the stage a bit. If we look at level 2, it's regularly speaking at least 10% more space, additional enrichment materials such as activity material, raised levels in sheds, so animals can actually jump to a higher stage, which aligns with their natural behavior. And then if we look at level 3, there are, besides even a lower stocking density, there are 2 more general criteria that are new and unique to this stage. For one, it's GMO-free feed. That is something that's become very well known within the German market. And the other one is access to outside climate. So in level 3, we do want to have the ability for all animals that they recognize how is the environment outside the barn. Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it day? Is it night? And that is measured for all animals. So the Haltungsform does not only work for chicken or poultry in general, but also for beef, for pork, for rabbits, and many other animals. And then for level 3, and that is unique to chicken, we do have the criteria for slower growing breeds. That is something that is firstly recognized and introduced on this level. And for us, it means that we can have a maximum daily weight gain of 45 grams per day. And if we have information that the animal health is well, for example, by information through a gait score system, it can go up to 51 grams per day on average for different breeding periods. It is quite a lively discussion because what we want to achieve with slower growing breeds in the Haltungsform is to make sure that we have an active, a healthy, and I'd say vibrant broiler at the end of the fattening period. That's what's important to us. And one of the criteria is to look at the average daily gain, to reduce this a bit, to have them in a slower breeding cycle, slower growing cycle. But there is a discussion at the moment if our goal is to have an active and healthy and vital animal at the end of the fattening period. Is it justified to just look at the average daily gain? Or can the average daily gain be one of many other informations that we can look at? And we are seeing more discussion in Germany, also with NGOs and other stakeholders, that goes into, okay, we recognize there's a breeding effort for slower growing breeds. They do have higher average daily gains, but we need to have a discussion. Are they still as active? Are they still as vital with that higher average daily gain? And if yes, if they are, is it justified to just look at the average daily gain as the sole criteria? So that's the discussion we're having at the moment. If you look at level 4 and 5, maybe to sum this up, level 4 basically means real access to outside area, and 5 is reserved for ecological production. If we look at where the market in Germany is right now, we do see 90% at level 2. So this is something that's also developed very quickly over the last 10 years, that we basically moved the entire farming sector from a level 1 to at least a level 2. And if you look at the bottom left, that is kind of the product range for Lidl in 2023 for chicken. On an article level, so we looked at the number of articles that are categorized in which level, for example, chicken breast, etc., etc. We did have 11.5% in level 3, and we did have 32.7% in level 5. So it is a focus area for our assortment development to make sure that our chicken steadily goes into the higher levels. And for us, it's really important, and that's maybe the more general topic, that we can make sure that the products for Lidl in Germany also come from German farms, because we do believe that the transition to higher animal welfare standards need to be met with the transition to a regional and local production as well. We do want to make this effort together with our German farms. And that's why we really focus on an according labeling system that provides an information that the products are produced in Germany. And for example, for level 3, we have the commitment that we only accept resources or products from Germany for this category. If we look maybe in our general animal welfare goals, to give you a bit an idea of where we're trying to go, and there's been discussion earlier, okay, we're talking about fresh meat, what's about processed products? Generally speaking, at the end of this year, we want to get to 50% of our products at least on level 3 for fresh meat and processed products, because the question is good and needs to be answered. If you have an animal that is produced entirely, a chicken, pork, beef, on a certain level, and you only bring the fresh meat products in your stores in that according level, you are losing a lot of efficiency down the road. And therefore, if you want to have an entire transition of your assortment, you also need to look at the processed product. In German, it's called a Ganztiervermarktung, to take all parts of the animal into consideration and make sure that every product that comes out of these parts that animals provide go into the higher labeling systems. And until 2030, we would like to establish level 3 as a minimum criteria within our assortments. However, we are dependent on actually having the resources and the product, and that also relies on political changes that need to be made. For example, building criteria, emissions criteria. We are discussing in Germany an according finance mechanism at the moment to actually make sure that the costs of more animal welfare are also met and can be paid for. So it's quite a broad discussion. We do know that we've set ourselves a very ambitious goal, but we believe if you set yourself ambitious goals, you have a higher chance of actually succeeding them. So we are really strongly working towards this. Last but not least, this is what we are discussing in the Haltungsform. However, if you look at our animal welfare approach as a company, we do also do things on our own, where we believe further actions are necessary. And over the last 2-3 years, we did get very strong feedback that we still have room of improvement when it comes to our chicken assortment, and that there are still animal welfare topics that need to be addressed, and that we do have a higher responsibility, and we do want to recognize this responsibility. And therefore, we've introduced an action plan ourselves, with which we want to make sure that we have ourselves an impact to improving animal welfare within our own supply chain that goes beyond what we're doing within the Haltungsform on certain levels. And we defined criteria with our suppliers that they are meeting, that enables the farms to have a further reduction of antibiotic use. Reserve antibiotics need to be documented, and obviously only in emergencies. We are addressing further animal welfare indicators on the slaughterhouses, so to have feedback on how our animals held, especially also in the first few days of the rearing period. Do we have higher losses? If yes, what's happening? We've established a training mechanism for farmers that our suppliers are helping us with. We reduce transport time within our supply chain, because if you looked at the Haltungsform, that's something we're really not addressing as an animal welfare criteria yet. However, we do believe as a company that that's something we can't have a blind eye to, and that's something we need to address. So within our supply chain, transport time is half compared to the legal maximum. And we also defined additional measures for transportation on hot days, especially if animals are put on the trucks, and also during transportation itself, to make sure that heat stress is reduced. So to sum this up, I want to address that we are taking animal welfare within our supply chain quite serious, that we are looking into actions that the entire market can accomplish. However, we're not afraid to make approaches ourselves within the action plan, but also with addressing ambitious goals towards 2030. And so far, we've made quite strong steps towards reaching these goals. However, to get there fully, we are also dependent on help from other sectors, especially from politics, to make sure that farmers are actually able to do the transition that we are set ourselves to be doing it. So this was the input from me. I do see that there are already a few questions, so happy to discuss.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henrik. Julia, we have some questions.
Yes, we have three questions so far.
Yeah,
so, Henrik, would you stop your sharing presentation?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Okay, you have to go. Sometimes I plopped up a bar, and then.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Is it better
Thank
now?
you.
Okay.
Okay, the first question is, when you mentioned to look at more criteria than only at the average daily gain, does that mean that you go for accepting faster growth than 51 gram per day, or maintain that as a maximum? And the second, and which additional criteria are you thinking of?
That is in discussion right now. We understood from our stakeholders within the supply chain, so from farmers, from our producers, but also from genetics and animal welfare NGOs, that just looking at one sole criteria, the average daily gain, does the realistic impact on a farm level, or the realistic situation on a farm level, no justice at the moment. And therefore, we accepted to starting a discussion to look at what else can we take into consideration. And that hasn't been defined yet. So we are at a very early stage of that discussion, because we do know that it's a sensitive discussion. And therefore, we want to get it right in that sense. And it will most likely take quite a while longer. And it will also take a compromise from our stakeholders. So we won't define criteria by ourselves, but we will look for a compromise. You you can hear that I'm a bit vague because we really haven't defined the criteria that we are going to look at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So another question is, I guess that in Germany, like other European countries, the trend is for increased share of processed products. Lots of these are important. How to guarantee that they are produced with the same standards?
Well, first of all, we would like to focus on a more regional production. That means for us, a production within Germany. And the most efficient way to make sure that they align is that they are labeled with the Haltungsform. Because once they are labeled, no retailer really wants to have level 1 within their assortment. There is a steering effect towards higher animal welfare standards, level 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, thank you. I think we have still some time.
Yes.
Who is doing the gate score on the farm to check if that the broilers are really active and not
There are different
inactive?
approaches to be doing this. Generally, it's the farmer, and he needs to have a documentation on how he did the gate score. And it depends a bit on the program. Some programs have an app already where he can provide the information. And then for other programs, it needs to be documented on the paper and needs to be provided when did he do the gate score and what was the outcome.
Maybe a question for me regarding that. Do the farmer have a training and is it certificate? Because I know that gate score is not easy to assess because it's really subjectively and it's not really, so we have a score from 0 to 5 and is the farmer a bit more pessimistic, so the gate score can be really bad, but another way is the same. Do you know that there's a certificate training?
There are trainings for farmers, and gate scores are part of it. And we've recognized that this is something where we do see a difference in the outcome. As you said, if you ask 3 people, you are most likely to have at least 2 different opinions also on the gate score. And that's part of the discussion we're looking at right now. If we look at slower growing breeds, what else can we take into consideration to not have to rely on the gate score as much as we do now?
Yeah, okay. Stefan, do you think I can ask just
I
one
think
question, the last
one more
one?
question, and then we
Yeah.
go to the general discussion.
Yeah, great. You showed, Henrik, that in 2023, 0% of the products had Haltungsform 4, where there are no farms, no interest. And how will you manage your goal for 2030 then?
Yeah. So until 2030, we want to get to level 3 at the minimum. So this includes 3, 4, and 5. It is very ambitious, and I do see the other questions for the winter gardens. It's not easy in Germany to build a winter garden. It's really, really difficult. And we do see that a lot of farmers would like to start building one. However, they don't get the permits to do it. And that's where we are discussing with politics. This is a transition we want to do, but we really need your help to let farmers that have a conventional housing system upgrade, transition to an animal welfare system. And that's where we, as much market share as we have and as much ambition as we have, where we are really dependent on other regulations and other stakeholders. For level 4, and that's Lidl, just for Lidl, I can't speak for the other retailers. We do see that it's not easy for our customers to differentiate between level 3, 4, and 5. Level 3 is the ambition level where you want to be to have a good animal welfare standards. Level 5 is ecological production. I'd say that's the absolute premium. And then level 4 is in between. And it really takes a lot of communication to explain this difference, but then also to motivate him to actually buy level 4 products. So for us, we want to have as easy as possible. We don't want to have, or would like to have processes that are streamlined as much as possible, and therefore we focus on level 3 and level 5. It's also a bit Lidl business model to not make it too complex.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we invite questions for the whole panel, for all our 3 speakers. And I think we actually received one question that you could maybe answer, all 3 of you. So I will start with Marike, and then Grégoire, and then Henrik. And then that is what is the effect of higher welfare standards on the price of the end product from consumers? Marike, what's your opinion here?
Yes, for the better leven products, the fresh meat, it was about, compared to conventional broiler meat, it was about 25 to 30% more expensive. But then we had the in-between chicken from the supermarket concept, and then this difference was a little bit smaller. I don't know exact how much more expensive, but we experienced, and when the consumers don't have a choice anymore for higher level animal welfare chicken, they still will buy it. And maybe in the beginning it was starting to be little bit lower, but then it started again to rise, so that the sales are not less than before when the supermarkets changed to 1-star better leven chicken.
Thank you very much, Grégoire and Aude. The question about this with the effect of higher welfare standard on the price of the end product. What is your opinion, and what do you know about that?
Thank you. I don't know if Grégoire is still here. Grégoire?
Si, je suis toujours là.
Ah.
Oui. J'ai compris la question.
Super.
Donc effectivement, les prix plus élevés de cette production, ça reste un frein à la consommation. Toujours est-il qu'effectivement, il y a des notions de bien-être, d'environnement dans ces productions de label rouge, mais il y a aussi un effet direct du consommateur sur le plaisir et le goût différent du produit. Donc aujourd'hui, ça devient un produit, effectivement, un produit du dimanche, on va dire, le poulet du dimanche, et aussi une grosse partie pour les fêtes fin d'année où le consommateur est prêt à mettre plus d'argent dans cette production. Et en termes de surcoût, effectivement, on est sur des surcoûts de 10-15% par rapport à un produit standard.
Okay. So just a minute. Thank you, Grégoire. So I will translate. So yes, indeed, higher prices discourage the consumption, and the Label Rouge certification includes such concepts such as animal welfare and the preservation of environment. But consumers are influenced by the taste of the products also, and that's why it's mostly a product Label Rouge for like Sunday. We can say this like this, or holidays. Or of sorry, the Christmas parties at the end of the year, sorry, and when people spend, so they're ready to spend more money on these products, and it's like 10 or 15% more compared to standard production.
Thank you very much, Grégoire and Aude. Henrik, please.
Yes, I think that's the question addressed is one of the most important questions that we need to find solution to. And as always, for difficult questions, there is no easy solution. What we do see is that customers are willing to pay more for animal welfare products to a certain degree. We have a general commitment to animal welfare from our customer level, and we do see that they are willing to pay a higher price to a certain degree. If, for example, we look at ecological produced products, this is an absolute premium where the willingness to pay that much more is not available to all customers. So if we look on how we can find a transition to our higher animal welfare standards, we do believe that the price gap needs to be reasonable, that the criteria that are being established are well communicated, explained easily to people that maybe don't know farming on a level that we do, and that we do small but continuous steps. So with our goal to 2030, it's very ambitious, but it gives us also time to don't do everything at once. We wouldn't have the products anyways. We talked about the emission and the permits, but also to explain customers and get them used to the higher animal welfare standard.
Well, thank you very much. There is a question related to the consumer, and that is the question if the consumers are fully aware about the differences and these commitments. So we could start with Henrik and then Grégoire and then Mareike. What do you think? Are consumers aware?
Yes, I think what really helped the discussion and the transition is that we introduced the Haltungsform. That is a very, very strong information because it provides an easy access guiding system. And if we talk to or explain to our customers what every level means, we try to have as simple messages as possible. So level 3, extra space, outside climate, and GMO-free feed. For example, slower growing breeds is something where it's not intuitive to everyone what that means. So it's really important to have this very complex discussion reduced to simple, easy messages and an according guiding system.
Thank you. Grégoire Aude, please.
Oui, alors Grégoire, du coup, la question c'était est-ce que le consommateur est bien au courant des efforts pour arriver à ce type de production? Donc label rouge.
C'est une très bonne question. Effectivement, le label rouge est une marque ancienne, certainement qui avait été mieux expliquée à ses débuts. Et aujourd'hui, on pense que le consommateur ne voit plus trop ce qu'il y a derrière le label rouge. Et il y a tout un travail qui a été fait justement pour savoir où on a perdu nos consommateurs. Comme je vous ai expliqué, durant la crise de l'Ukraine, au niveau des matières premières. Et on doit revenir à communiquer sur l'essentiel, sur les essentiels du label rouge, à savoir effectivement, c'est une production à croissance lente, c'est une production fermière qui va dehors. Le fermier, on a des consommateurs parfois dans les magasins qui en doutent, qui se posent des questions, mais vraiment ils sortent dehors. Et tout l'effort effectivement de la démonstration de la qualité supérieure et du goût supérieur, je crois que très peu de consommateurs se rendent compte du travail qui est fait pour assurer ces affirmations.
Ok. Il y a juste la fin que j'ai peut-être pas trop. Attends, je vais essayer. So Grégoire said that's a very good question. That Label Rouge is an old brand that was probably better explained when it's first started out. But today they don't really see what's behind it anymore, the consumers. And that's why a lot of work is needed and is actually due to figure out where we lost the consumers, especially maybe with the crisis in Ukraine. And so very few consumers suspect what is behind Label Rouge. So it's a real work in communication that is needed, but France is working on it with like surveys and everything. Grégoire, je ne sais pas si j'ai tout bien traduit. Est-ce que tu avais quelque chose à ajouter?
Non, très bien.
Okay.
Merci.
Thank you very much. Merci. Mareike, please.
Yes, I think due to a lot of campaigns and also some meat scandals, the consumers in the Netherlands are very well aware that there are animal welfare problems with animals in intensive livestock farming. They also know a little bit about the welfare problems of faster growing breeds, but overall they don't know many details. So the Beter Leven label is very well known in the Netherlands. It has very high recognition of 95% of the consumers know the Beter Leven label. And then they know that more stars means better welfare. So 1, 2, 3 stars, the more welfare. And they buy it in the supermarket, and there they have actually very little choice with lower levels of animal welfare. For instance, I see in the question the matter of butchers, that you have a different matter. There is the consumers, the clients of the butcher shop, they very much trust on the butcher. We also tried to develop Beter Leven label with butcher shops, and it's more difficult in the whole auditing system, and so it's more expensive for the butchers also. But there is very much less awareness with butchers that animal welfare is important, and they also have. Yeah, they want to do it for a lower price. Yeah, they want to compete with supermarkets in the price. So that's very difficult to reach butchers. And the same is actually for the out-of-home business and the food service. Their consumers, they want to enjoy a meal outside of their homes. It's prepared, and they don't want to think about animal welfare. And so it's much more difficult to have more welfare-friendly products, and also they are not labeled, so it's not very visible what is the welfare behind the animal that is served on their plate. So the supermarkets have done a lot of work on this. Now the next step is, I think it's also a responsibility for the butcher shops and the food service business to have more animal welfare-friendly products.
I would like to comment on this if I'm allowed to, because I 100% agree with what you said. For one, yes, our customers, they really want us to move into this direction for higher animal welfare standards, and that's the feedback we're getting continuously. However, if we are making steps in this direction, we do need to see an according recognition within the market that everyone is providing information on the animal welfare standards that are addressed within their products, so customers can make informed decisions. So I very much agree with you, and for us, it's one of the most important questions that we need to address all together if we want to have a fully transition to a higher animal welfare standards. Thanks.
Thank you. There is a question about the impact of the standards on emission or ecological footprint in general, and that is probably more a scientific question. However, I would like to ask you, how do you evaluate or consider this in the context of what you are working in with the labeling? So maybe Grégoire, Aude, did I formulate the question?
Yes, great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Grégoire, t'as compris la question? Je traduis peut-être.
Oui, à peu près. Reprécise-la quand même.
Ok, alors du coup, il demande quel est l'impact du coup des émissions donc, liées à la production de souches à croissance lente, donc le label, et effet sur l'empreinte carbone, même s'il dit que c'est plutôt une question scientifique, mais comment tu prends ça en compte et comment c'est évalué dans ce contexte de labellisation?
Alors, dans le contexte de labellisation, effectivement, l'impact carbone n'est pas encore évalué. Il le sera certainement demain, mais il n'empêche que nous, on a déjà travaillé sur ce sujet, qui est évidemment d'actualité. Dans nos productions à croissance lente, on est vraiment impacté justement sur le coût carbone, puisqu'on a des indices de consommation qui sont élevés, 2, 8, 2, 9, 3. 3 kilos d'aliments pour 3 kilos de viande. Et c'est essentiellement sur le levier de la formulation qu'on pourra évoluer par rapport à ça. Et on a déjà commencé effectivement, notamment sur les protéagineux locaux. On travaille sur le lupin, sur la févrole pour remplacer le soja, les tourteaux d'une manière générale. Et depuis maintenant 6 ans, 7 ans, on est sur un tourteau soja de France qui permet de diminuer l'impact carbone. Je ne vais pas vous le quantifier, mais c'est sur ces leviers-là des matières premières dans l'aliment qu'on pourra plus vite avancer dans ces productions lentes, qui sont pénalisées, malheureusement pénalisées au niveau de l'impact carbone.
Ok. So just a minute. Okay, so yes, in the context of certification, carbon footprints are not yet assessed for the Label Rouge production, but will surely be in the future. So they have already worked on this question, especially since the consumption rates are high during for slowing growth production. He said that 3 kilograms of feed is equivalent to 3 kilograms of meat. And they are now working on protein sources like field beans and French oilseed meal to reduce carbon emissions. So it's mainly through nutrition that they will make a difference. But yes, they try to target French feed that is produced in France, to make maybe a slight difference in carbon footprint.
Thank you very much. Henrik.
Yes, I can comment on it. Generally speaking, because we do hear this a lot, we can either do animal welfare or we can focus on climate efficiency, but we can't do both. And I believe that this thinking just really doesn't address the problems that we're facing. We need to find solutions for both, for climate efficiency and for animal welfare. And as a company, we committed ourselves to working on both and also getting better in both aspects. I know we're talking about chicken today, but if we look at all animals, we do see evidence. The German think tank Agora Agrar produced a study last year where they more concluded, okay, for beef, this is really a region, for example, Germany, where beef production and milk production can have a positive impact for climate due to regional advantages. If we look at pork, we discussed with one of our suppliers just a few weeks ago, and he explained to us that from his numbers and the evidence he has within his supply chain, we don't have an inefficiency in level 3 because we don't have a ventilation system that needs energy. We don't have a lighting system that needs energy, and this kind of nivelates what we maybe lose in level 3, so it's kind of the same. For chicken, however, there is a goal conflict, and this goal conflict hasn't been fully solved yet. I think that's fair to recognize. However, we need to find solutions for it, and I think one of the pathways that we can look at was just mentioned by the colleague.
Thank you very much. Mareike, please.
Yeah, we think you have to approach this as an integral sustainability problem, and it's for us it's not acceptable that animal welfare goes at a cost at optimizing or aiming at the same goals at other sustainability issues like CO2 or ammonia, of nitrogen, etc. So you can improve the animal welfare, but you all can strive for more sustainable other sustainable issues. And there is a lot to win maybe in the feed production. I think that because it's for about 40% of the whole sustainability issue of the production. So the slower grower broilers need less protein in the feed, so that's something, and you can make the feed more sustainable. And we are also looking at systems in the Netherlands for the nitrogen emissions, because it's not yet fully known what is the nitrogen emission of the slower growing breed system. But you have, of course, almost 50% less animals in a stable. So on the other hand, maybe the nitrogen is a little bit more than regular broiler meat. So it's all now under research in the Netherlands, and we will see how it works, and then we can see what other measurements we can take. But for us, it's not acceptable that the whole discussion about sustainability going at the cost of animal welfare. So then you have to maybe produce little less animals, or consume less meat. Also, it's an issue, of course. So less meat, but also better meat in the sustainability discussion.
Thank you very much, Marijke. And we could continue this discussion, I'm very sure. And we have many more questions here that are not really answered, but we promised you that we should finish this webinar by 12 o'clock, and we will nearly manage that. So, Julia, is there anything we need to consider before I close this?
Yes, we really would like to mention another webinar about sustainability.
Yeah, I will do that as well.
You will do that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. So
yeah.
no, then I don't have other points. So yeah.
Yep. So I have a final part of the presentation here, and that is if you want to know more about the activities from BroilerNet, you could please visit our Broiler Knowledge Hub, and there is also a webinar on this with the challenges of slower growing broiler chickens. And there will also in future be this webinar that you have been attending now, so you can see it again, or you can recommend it to your friends. So, and then please, as Julia started to say, on the 4th of September, there will be a new BroilerNet webinar, from waste to worth, managing manure and water for sustainable broiler farming. And there will be information on the part where we have been looking at the environmental sustainability, and there will be stakeholders and experts bringing their knowledge. And Julia, I'm not sure we have the starting time. I think it will be 10 to 12, same time as today. But please look out for more information. And you can find more information on our website, our social media, mainly LinkedIn, the YouTube, and here you also have the QR code. And then I would like to thank you very much, Marijke, Henrik, and Grégoire, and also Aude for very nice contribution to this webinar. And then I would like to thank Julia and Margaret and Vivge for excellent technical things here. And thank you all for participating in this webinar. And we hope to see you again in future. And there will be this webinar in December, and there is a planning for a webinar on coccidiosis prophylaxis in January. But more information, you can find it on LinkedIn is probably the best way to find more information. So thank you very much and have a nice day.